Welcome to another training here. We're going to go through something here that's probably going to take about maybe 5 or 6 minutes. I absolutely love this portion of the trainings because, we have a lot of people. I know that you included as you're talking with people. You'll hear all kinds of crazy excuses. Well, we don't do things like that. That sounds like a pyramid. I got a friend who got involved with one of those things that turned out to be a scam. So we're going to really explain to you where the money comes from, how it all gets paid out so that you have a full understanding of that. And while you'll have the information when you're sitting down with someone to explain to them why this simply is not what most people would consider a pyramid or anything of that nature. So as we kind of go through these screens, hopefully you'll get a full understanding of that. First thing I want to start with is this. What is a pyramid? A lot of people have no idea what a pyramid even is. They don't even understand what a person means by that. So it's just not the geometrical shape that many people have problems with. It's the fact of what a lot of people have the misconception of what they think a pyramid might actually be. Now, what you're seeing come on your screen here is a representation of all those reds and blues and green rockets as the 2 by 3 boards kind of fill out here. And you'll kind of see how all this plays together by the time that we get done. But let's talk about some different pyramids that are out there since we're talking about the geometrical shape. The Boy Scouts of America, well, that's a pretty good shaped pyramid. It's been around for a long, long time, just like the Girl Scouts, the Red Cross, and everything else. How about the local police department? Even the legal authorities have a pretty good shaped pyramid that's out there. You'll see from the chief of police all the way down to the parking staff attendants. There's a pretty good shaped pyramid right there. How about the U.S. Nuclear Regulatory Agency, whatever that is? You can see this was found right on the internet. A pretty good shaped pyramid there with all the different people that are involved and all the different titles and ranks and things of that nature, from the commissioner all the way down to the janitor in the U.S. Nuclear Regulatory Agency building. So it's a pretty good shaped pyramid there. How about our government of the United States, beginning with the Constitution, the president, the vice president, and all the way down? It's a pretty good shaped pyramid when you really start to look at things like that. So again, guys, it's not the geometrical shape of the pyramid. It's what people really associate a pyramid actually being. And we're going to give you a good definition of that as we kind of finish this out. If you've ever turned over the back of a $1 bill, you'll see a real good shaped pyramid staring you right in the face with a big eyeball right on top of it. Some people, when they refer to pyramids, are talking about the pyramids in Egypt. It's one of the strongest archaeological structures that has ever existed. They're still standing today, so it's very, very strong as the bases start out wide and they go to the peak at the top. But I don't think that's the pyramid that most people are talking about. So we're going to get into what this is really all about. Most people associate a pyramid with what a lot of people would consider to be a Ponzi. And I don't have any problem at all go ahead and putting this out there because I want to be very clear about what this is and what it's not. The word Ponzi comes from a gentleman by the name of Charles Ponzi, who way, way, way back many, many years ago got involved with a scheme. And a lot of people continue to associate things that kind of even remotely resemble something like that as being a Ponzi. Well, this certainly is not. A Ponzi, so that you understand exactly how a Ponzi works, and before we even do that, I want you to understand what your friend or your relative that you sat down and showed this with, what they really said to you. What they really said, without them actually saying it, is I don't even have a clue what a pyramid is. And I really don't even trust you enough to even figure it out. Well, now you're going to have some ammunition and some information that when you sit down with somebody, you can explain it. So they have a full and clear understanding of how this works. But here's a Ponzi. I want you to understand what a Ponzi is. I think it's always great if you understand what something is. That way you'll know what something's not. A Ponzi works like this. Let's say that Bill gets started in a company, a program, whatever you want to call it, and he spends $100 to get started. Then he signs up his buddy Ray, and Ray spends $100. And then maybe he signs up his buddy Jill, and Jill spends $100. And Ray spends another $100. Excuse me, they enroll a friend of theirs named Bob, and Bob spends $100. Well, then at that moment, the company spends $400 and pays it to Bill. But if you just look on your screen, you can see the simple math of that. $300 was generated. How in the world can the company afford to spend $400 to pay to Bill? That math just simply doesn't work. General fourth grade elementary math education will teach you that. But here's how a Ponzi works. A Ponzi pays out $400 to Bill in hopes that this will continue to keep moving. For example, they're hoping that Ray will sign up Rick for another $100. And they're hoping that Rick will sign up Jim for another $100. And as long as that happens and as long as that continues, everything happens naturally and everybody's happy and everybody gets paid. But the moment that that stops, the moment that people stop enrolling, the moment that people stop spending $100, that's when it collapses, and that's what you have is called a Ponzi. And as soon as you figure that out, and as soon as you know what that is, you can understand why this is simply not that. And you're going to see that. I'm going to give you undeniable proof as we move through this. But now that you know what a Ponzi is, let's talk about what we have, what we're doing, what this program is, because it's certainly not a Ponzi. Let's talk about the 2x3s. And that's what these white circles are representing. The white circles represent all the different rockets on a 2x3. And at the bottom of that 2x3, in those 8 positions along the bottom, you'll see 8 rockets that end up joining. Now, those 8 rockets represent 8 different purchases. Each one of those purchases represents $315 each. That includes the processing fee. So I'm going to slow down so that you really understand this. $315 generated from each individual purchase, or each purchase that is made from somebody who made a sale, $315 from each person. That's the math that gets played out here. Now remember, not a single dime, not one red cent is ever paid to anyone until all 8 positions have now been filled. That means that the company has that money in-house, in hand, in the bank before a single check is ever cut. Now, when you understand how the math works, you can understand why this is able to pay so much money. Here's the way that it plays out. Each person or each purchase is generating $315. Now, there's 8 purchases, like we said earlier, must be paid before a single dollar is ever paid out to anyone. Well, simple math will just tell you that 8 purchases times $315 is $2,520. So let's take a look at what happens to that $2,520. Now, before a single dime is ever paid out, that money is sitting in the bank account of the company. One person who cycles the 2x3 will receive $300 of that. And one person who's on the 2x2 will receive $1,000 of that. So $1,300 is paid out of the $2,520 that is generated. So you can see how this is sustainable and why the profit is there, and why the company is now able to make the payments based on the program that is now set before you. But a lot of people who get involved with this understand that that 4th position in the 2x2 actually pays $2,000, and you're scratching your heads and you're wondering how in the world is the company able to do that. Well, I'm going to explain that to you as we kind of continue to move through this. $1,300 paid out of the $2,520 that's brought in. That's just simple math. That's simple arithmetic. And as soon as a person understands that not a dime of that is ever paid until $2,520 has been brought in, they understand why this simply is not a Ponzi. It's not a pyramid. It's not a scam. It's not a scheme. It's nothing at all, even remotely close to anything like that. It's a viable product with a marketing plan put together that pays extremely well and probably will beat most anything that you'll ever put it up against. Now, let's talk about the $2,000 that's paid out in the 4th position, because we're going to play devil's advocate here. We're going to say that the company is paying out the absolute maximum amount to anybody that's involved. Well, let's just do the simple math on that. In the 4th position, for it to pay out $2,000, that means that 4 2x3s would have had to have busted. Well, if each 2x3 generates $2,520 times 4, that's $10,080 that is received by RCC for the product that has been sold. So we're going to work off of that number, $10,080 that has actually been brought in, sitting in-house in the bank right now. And that's the number that we're going to work with. Well, since that's been generated, the most that could have ever been paid out to anybody is 4 people, which would be $300 each. That's $1,200. And then you take into the effect that the 2x2s are each receiving their share. Well, if you add all of that up, that's $5,000. $5,000 plus the $1,200, well, that's $6,200 out of the original number of $10,080. Now, the balance, of course, is issued in clone e-pins and administrative fees, and the company receives, after it's all said and done, about 5% of that. But think about the math on that, guys. It makes perfect sense. If $10,080 is what's generated, the company can easily pay out $6,200 all day long, every day of the week, every single month, year after year, because that's money that's being generated. So there's absolutely no way that this could ever collapse. Now, could it stop? Absolutely. Just like any store, just like any business. If there are no customers and nobody's making purchases, absolutely it could. You can go down to the local Walmart. If nobody's going through the doors and making a purchase, Walmart's going to have to end up shutting the doors. But I don't think that's going to happen because people love to go to Walmart. I don't think that's going to happen here because people love to make money. So we've got a great product here, a great program, and a great concept that works extremely well. And it's just so simple because it is just a $315 one-time initial purchase. And then you just refer 2 people who then do the exact same thing and follow the 4-step system. So hopefully this gives you the information to be able to sit down with someone when your friend says, nope, that's one of those pyramids. I'm just one of those. I don't mind at all. Go ahead and putting that out there. I don't want to skirt the issue. I don't want to hide it. But now you know exactly why this is not. So hopefully this has been helpful for you. We'll see you on the next training.